Hey there, and welcome to the Board Game Sherpa, the channel that takes the fear out of board games and puts the fun back in. Today's episode is a special one. Today, I continue with my Brazilian game designers interview series. It seems the Brazilians have really come out in force this year at this year's GenCon. With Robert Coelho of Comic Hunters, Andre Teruya with Hi-Fi, artist Weberson Santiago, and Andre Maciel, amongst many others. And my two guests for today, Jordy Adan and Renato Simões. Hope I pronounced those right. And they came out with this gorgeous new game called Ozob, a Cyberpunk board game coming out soon on Gamefound.com. And if you need to remember how to spell that, Ozob is bozo spelled backwards. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Thank you, James.
So welcome. Thank you.
All right, so let's just get this started. I'm going to start with you, Renato, because I've been talking to you a lot.
Yes.
So tell me about yourself. What games have you... Tell me about yourself. What's your background? What games you designed? All that.
So I've been working with board games for 9 years now, and mainly I've been publishing games in Brazil, both as author and also as editor. I have a publisher in Brazil that has been publishing games here for 9 years now. My most known game in Brazil is called Piratas, but the game we hold world rights for, and it's most famous elsewhere, is Potato Man. Potato Man, the game that was originally published by Zorg Verlag from Germany, and we got the rights and republished it in 2021. Yeah, I think so. So this is the most known game out there, but we have several games. We have published already 16 games in Brazil, but also when we have published games in Korea, Japan, Germany, Austria, Switzerland, US, and Canada. So we've been, and also Portugal as well. So we've been publishing games in several places in the world, actually.
All right. Jordy, same question for you.
Yeah, so I've been making games for a while now, and it's been my dream since I was a kid to work with games and to design games. After a while, at the beginning, I was trying to make digital games, and after a while, I started playing board games and liking it even more than digital, and I got to publish one of my games that was Rolling Ranch, and then I've published Cartographers and many more after that. Me and Renato at the Geeks and Orcs, the Renato's publishing company. We've worked on Fibonacci's that was released on GenCon this year, and now we're working together on Ozob.
Cool. Renato, what was your how did you get into board games?
Oh, I've always played board games, but in the beginning it was like Monopoly. Actually, I never liked Monopoly a lot, but I used to play Risk a lot when I was a teenager, and I played traditional deck of cards like a lot here. We played a different kind of Wizard, the card game Wizard. We had it in traditional cards here in Brazil, and I played a lot as a teenager, and then we played a lot of poker. And also Big Two, which we call Chinese poker here in my city. And I played a lot. But when I was like 18 or 19, like 15 years ago, 14 years ago, I started playing Pokemon TCG. And as I played it, I went traveling all around Brazil to play competitively. And in one of those travels, I was in the house of a friend of mine, and he introduced me to King of Tokyo. I've already been playing Catan and Seven Wonders before King of Tokyo, but King of Tokyo actually made me buy my first board game, my first modern board game. So I went from an occasional player to an all-in collector and buyer of board games and modern board games. So now I have my house fulfilled of board games, and I don't even have space for myself.
I understand. Jordy, how did you get into board games?
Yeah, it wasn't when I was around 18 or 19, and I live in a smaller town here in Brazil. so there are not that many people that plays board games here. But there's like the Brazilian BGG here, Ludopedia, and I found some people that were like, I can't remember how I found out like the first game, but I met those people and they played games and they showed me like Pandemic and Descent, and then I made an offer to one of those guys like, can you sell me? Do you want to sell me this Pandemic game? And he wanted, and that was like my introduction to this. So, and then after this, I discovered that, like, there's a whole universe of different types of games, and damn, it's just incredible. Yeah, and ever since I've never stopped. I have the same problem that there are more games than than empty spaces here.
I'm with you on the 100%. My wife is trying to get me to sell some of my games.
Yeah, I have like, I don't know, 7 or 8 boxes full of games that I want to sell, but it's just like a lot of
It's hard
effort. It's hard, yeah.
I completely my wife she's cool about it, but she really wants me to sell some stuff. All righty. How did the two of you guys meet?
Uh,
Oh, that's a cool story because we actually met like maybe 6 or 7 years ago in a meeting here in Brazil. The guy from called Sergio Halaban. I don't know if you know him, but he's the author of Sheriff of Nottingham and other
Okay.
very well-known games. And he used to make a meeting, a gathering here with people from the industry. So like a gathering of friends you have here there in the US, but is obviously smaller. So that was the time when me and Jordy, we actually started talking and stuff like that. But previously, Jordy had emailed me with an idea of game, and actually I haven't ever answered him. At least he says so.
yeah. And this, I think like Renato gave me a ride to this gathering, and there we just started like playing games together and getting to know each other. And but then there was a time during during the pandemic that I was living in São Paulo, working at Conmini or Not. They have an office there, and like a friend of mine, he suggested, like a friend of us, he had this idea that we all rented a place in the same building, and so we could like live together and like play more. And he also invited Renato to go there, and yeah, that was the place that like we really met, because we, like, Renato lived across the corridor from my apartment, and it was so easy. Like, we were playing like 3 times a week, and we playing for many hours. Yeah,
And it was actually during the pandemic, so we didn't have elsewhere to go. So we were all stuck inside, and we actually had each other like in the same building to play with. So we kind of were in a very unique situation, so we could play a lot together and get more close and stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. My board game friends are at least an hour away, and
yeah.
My wife will play with me, but it's all about pity. She's like, he doesn't have one to play. Let me play this. And so I have to modify the games that she would like.
Yeah, we know the feeling because we all nowadays we don't live in São Paulo anymore. I live in Minas Gerais, and Jordy lives in Paraná. It's like 2,000 kilometers, maybe 1,000 and something miles from each other. So it's pretty far. And actually here in my city, I don't have people to play with. So I only play online with Jordy, like on Tabletop Simulator or Board Game Arena. And I think for him, it's not that easy to get people playing with him, right, Jordy?
Yeah, it's about the same.
Yeah, it's if there's no one around, it's hard to get into the hobby if your friends are so far away, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And there's these uh there you probably have friends, like regular friends, but to really to have friends that also buy board games is really a different kind of vibe. Like it's so much easier to set up and play together than like playing with friends that likes playing games but they don't buy games. It feels sometimes like an effort that you have to make. So yeah, I miss the good old times of. We used to call the building that we lived the Dev Tower because everybody that lived, everybody no, but the four of us that lived there all worked with board games as well. Uh, so I miss the good old times of the Dev Tower.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
it was pretty easy because people actually called us to play. And nowadays we have to call people to play with us. So that's a little bit different as well. Because when people buy games as well, they want to put their games on the table and play it. So it's different from the current situation where we want to play the games we buy, but people they don't buy games, they don't have that kind of uh, compromise with gaming, you know?
right. And a lot of my local friends that don't buy games, they want to play the same games. They want to play Splendor. They want to play King of Tokyo. They want to play Ticket to Ride. And it's like these are games it's like I've played a million times. I will say one of the games that my non board game buying friends are starting to play is Metro Runner. They just every time someone comes, oh, listen, can we try that Metro Runner game? Sure, let's just try the Metro Runner game. So it's turning into a game like King of Tokyo and all that, but completely unintentional, which I'm happy for. I'm happy for the Thunderworks, but it's like I've played it so many times already.
Yeah.
You know, I want to play Shadows of Camelot. I want to play Batman Talisman. I want to play these games.
Yeah, yeah. I want to sit on the table like for 4 hours and just play one long game.
Right.
Yeah,
My friend John, the original board game Sherpa, he lives an hour and a half away, and he's coming up this weekend, so we're going to have a long session. But he really loves the game Shadows of Brimstone. That's an 8. That could be a 5-hour game. That could be a 10. That could take an entire weekend and still not be anywhere close. So, but it is fun. We do compromise. We'll play 4 hours of Brimstone, then we'll find something else.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's all about balance.
balance. Yeah, you don't want to take up too much people's time.
for me, the games that I don't want to play anymore and that play with me, they only want to play those are The Crew and Fabled Fruit.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
those are awesome games, awesome. But I don't want to play only them. And as we have so little chances of playing different games, I don't want to play those when we have the chances. So
Exactly.
I need to play different stuff.
Yeah, just chances are so slim. You want to get right in there, and you want to try something new.
Yes.
Because I mean, those games are on Board Game Arena too, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, The Crew for sure, but I don't think Fabled Fruit is
Oh,
though. I
Fable
don't
Truth,
think
not
so.
Stuff Fables. Okay, I think Stuff
No,
Fables.
no, it's Fabled Fruit from Friedman Freeze.
Gotcha. Okay, but yeah, you're right. It's like you want to play the games. You don't want to play the same games over and over, no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna skip over that, but I'm gonna go to the Brazilian community just because we're there. Um, this year there seems to be a lot of high profile games from Brazilian designers at GenCon. I know both of you guys have been at this for years, but why is 2024 the year of the Brazilian game designer? Any idea how this
I
happened?
think I think it's it is actually several factors because uh like you said, Robert and André Teruya, those were two Brazilian authors that were highlighted during Gen Con this year. But both of them, they work with board games for a long time right now. Actually, the first game that André Teria got published was published by me here in Brazil. So it is a very entangled industry here because we all know each other, and we've been working together and improving together as well as an industry, actually. So we got games out here in Brazil, and we have tested them, and we have sold them here. And the thing is, we've been trying local so we could be able to go abroad with more quality. We always had Sergio Halaban in the mid 2000s. He was like very well-known designer here in Brazil. He's the first one to get published. But we also have this growing scenario, which is for many factors, but mainly because we are getting better as an industry as a whole. Editors, publishers, developers, and also game designers. It is also consumers, actually, because in Brazil the consumers are like it grew so much, the number of consumers here in Brazil, since the when I started. When I started, I think there was like 2 games a month published here, released here in Brazil. Now we have 500 games published a year.
Oh.
So it's a pretty different scenario. Like in Brazil, the game of the year in 2015 was Puerto Rico. So
okay.
it was a very ancient game from the 2000s. In Brazil, it was the game of the year in 2015. Nowadays, we have simultaneous release like The Mandalorian from Corey Konitska. It was already released here in Brazil. And we have several other games coming here, and the people were consuming them and playing different stuff. That also reflects on the quality of the games we create here.
Yeah, and I think also Tom Vasel played a big role in this, because he was earlier this year. He was here in Brazil for Diversão
Last year,
Offline.
actually.
Oh, last year. Yeah, that's right. So he was here for our like the biggest convention we have here in Brazil, and like he got to meet with a lot of these guys, and he already liked Comic Hunters a lot. Like the people from the Dice Tower already liked the game, and I really think that like his words really helped spread the designs that were coming from Brazil. And now we're kind of feeling it like this because Comic Hunters was there, and then o Bom do Video Game. I'm not sure how's the English name for the game, but there was like a many games that Tom Vasel brought from Brazil that he really liked and really talked about those games on his channel.
I think the game is Video Game Champion.
Oh, okay. I saw that a lot at GenCon this year.
Yeah, it is Brazilian as well. And also I think we have a major CMON has a major role on this as well, because CMON has a development office here in Brazil and is one of the most important for them. So they have worked here in Rising Sun, Bloodborne board game, Bloodborne the card game, Zombie Sides, all of those. They have Brazilian working on them. Like the last one release, Army of the Dead. It was from both authors are from Brazil. So it has a major role, as well as CGS, the company from Dante Inferno, and also Chronicles of Dronagor, and the Dragori Games. They have Arena, the contest, and also the other one, I forgot the other one, Tanaris Adventures. So we have some companies that are going abroad and growing the community that consumes Brazilian board games, even without knowing those are Brazilian board games. So it's been a long journey.
Gotcha. I going back to Tom Vasel. before I talked to Robert, I had watched the Tom Vasel visits Brazil, and he went to the de Versal, and he went to the Ludaria board game cafe, and it was just so. He just made it seem so welcoming there. It's like he really loved it. Like, at the convention, at the show, he was talking how great this Ludus was. I was talking to Robert. You guys, when it was going out of business during COVID, you guys did a whole charity thing for the forum for Ludus. So that video made me want to go. That video made me want to go to Sao Paulo and go do all these board game things.
Yeah, I think Brazilian, we are warm as a people. We have this warm treatment and stuff like that. And we also are very proud to show Brazilian stuff to foreigners. That's the thing here. I think with everything, not only with board games. So we were very proud during the Olympic Games when Rebecca Andrade actually got the gold medal in gymnastics. I think it was in the ground exercises and stuff like that. And we were like very proud as a country. So everybody was posting on Instagram and taking the picture where Simone Biles and the other American gymnasts, they like, how do you say when they
bound down?
They praise. Yeah, they bound down for Rebecca, and this was like really spread here in Brazil, and we kept talking about it. So Brazilians are very proud to show local stuff for foreigners. It's a thing here. So I think that's the combo: a warm people with very kind reception and treatment, and also the proud of showing stuff from Brazil to the world.
When I did the interview with Robert a couple of months ago, when I posted it, you Brazilian designers came out of the woodwork to promote that for me. That was, you guys were so supportive of Robert's, like anything Roberts does. It's like, wow. It's like, okay, I didn't expect that level of support from like so many people. So I can definitely see that. I can definitely see the proud of supportive thing.
Yeah. Because the industry is growing, but like we've been making games for a long time. Like, so I've worked with Renato on a game that his company published, and we worked together on Ozob and on 1000 that is here, and like also with Robert, he works for Grok Games, and I've played the prototypes of him, he played prototypes of mine. So we like, the industry is growing, but the designers are like very well connected because we know each other for a long time, and we are very supportive of each other. I feel that's right.
Definitely saw it. You guys really do seem to be a close-knit community of designers. How many I'm not just starting ballpark. How many are in like the board game developing community?
I think it's hard to count nowadays. Maybe when we get to published game designers, we would have something like 100, maybe 150. I don't know for sure, but people involved in developing and stuff like that would be, for sure, it would be over 500 people, because we have several dedicated companies like Dragory Games and CGS, and also in CMON, they have several developers and play testers. And like for my company, we don't have a dedicated group of play testers, but we have for spot projects. So like last month, we were having a different table of play testers playtesting a new game. So people are involved, not as their main activity, professional activity, but they do this like a hobby or a secondary activity. There are several people doing that.
So I probably should have asked how many people are doing board game developing as their main business.
Yeah, that would be something like 50, maybe. Like this is aiming high. I don't think it would get to that number, actually.
Gotcha.
I
Are
would
you guys
say- I would say-
primarily board game designers, or do you have other jobs?
Yeah, we both are board game. Actually, I am a publisher and editor, but my job is only board games for 9 years now.
Okay, awesome. Same with you, Jordy?
Yeah, I've now I work as an independent designer. I used to work for CMON or not for 3 years. So yeah, for the past maybe 6 years, I've been working only as a designer. And while I was at CMON, I was working as a developer as well. So yeah.
What did you guys do before you got into board games development?
Yeah.
Jordy can start.
Yeah, mine is simpler. I worked at like a tech company as a programmer for a while, and then I worked for also as a programmer for like a more serious games, like serious digital games company, like that made games for other companies, like for training purpose. And yeah, and then I went to CMON, and now for the past 2.5 years, I'm all in as an independent designer.
Oh, nice. Okay. Renato?
For me, it was a little bit different. I was in a whole different industry. I was selling wheelbarrows, so it's pretty different.
Selling wheelbarrow. Okay.
Wheelbarrows and staircase, like aluminum staircases. So it is very different, but I was always playing games, and one day I actually changed industry after selling wheelbarrows and staircases. I started a company with a friend of mine where we actually created websites. I was the commercial part of it. So because of that, I learned how to build a website. And because of that, I actually created the website for my company. So it was the way I started selling games, because before I released my first game, which is Piratas, that is already on its third edition in Brazil. The first edition, I started pre-selling, like a pre-sale there in the website, and started marketing it. And after a while, I just quit my other job and started working only with that. That wasn't a good decision, but it was the decision at the time.
But it got you where you are now.
Yes, of course, with several stumbles and things along the way, but it's okay.
I bet you learned a lot from those stumbles.
Yes, of course.
You make smaller stumbles then so you can avoid the bigger ones later.
Yeah, or so I could have smaller ones later, but also several stumbles later as well.
I get it completely. Cool. All right, so got that one. I know we talked about it offline, but one of my big problems with your guys' games and your Brazilian-based games is if they're in Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. I don't read Portuguese. You told me that there's some plans to make it more world that more people can access it.
Yeah, it's one of the difficulties, mainly for me. I don't think for Jordy it is a difficulty, because as a publisher, I worked first in Portuguese version of my games because I published them here in Brazil. So I will have the Portuguese version published. That's a thing. That's a fact. So I'll work on that. Jordy, for example, I think he can say better, but he's an independent designer. So he aims the international market first, right?
Yeah, that's right. I usually start with like working, like the rule book are always written in English because I'm first aiming to release it like with an international company. Yeah, so that's not more like much of a problem. But I think we kind of feel a bit of this with like with markets from other countries as well. Like the Japanese market I feel it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And sometimes there's like a Japanese game that you really want to play, but you like there's not even like a rough translation of it on BGG, so it's just impossible.
And the
And
characters, you can't even with some Portuguese stuff, I can make out what it means. But with Japanese stuff, it's like the characters are just so they I can't even translate. I can't even guess at what they mean.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think we have here in Brazil a thing that it's good for us, but it makes a little bit worse for the games to be available in English because we have our BGG in Portuguese here. As Japan, we are not a country that actually speaks a lot of English. So for people to consume games here, they have to be in Portuguese mainly. So we developed as a community, we have a space here, a website called Ludopedia, that we actually uh, put things there. So we register our games there. We have files like rule books and stuff like that there. So we actually sometimes don't even have the entry for a game on Board Game Geek, and it doesn't make much of a difference for us here in Brazil. But it would make a difference to for the games to be published elsewhere if they were available on Board Game Geek. So it's an effort like I am trying to do right now because uh, I used to be the distributor for my games here in Brazil, but I'm not anymore. So Asmodee in Brazil licensed the games from my company. So I do not have the work of distributing and talking to retailers and stuff like that. And nowadays I can only focus on creating games and editoring them. So what I'm doing here, I'm also doing the same thing that as Jordy does. The primary version would be in English, so I can start by creating a game, so I can show it to other markets and stuff like that, and post the game on BGG, which is the biggest community we have in the world, right?
Right. Really, it's really cool. I was like, it's fun seeing these. But I mean, I know you said you might have a game coming out on BGA.
Yeah. We just had Fibonaccios from Jordy published on BGA, as well as Pescado Novo, which is
Oh,
a
it's on.
game
Okay.
of mine. They are already on BGA, but we will have Piratas published on BGA. I don't know the schedule for it. It's being developed right now. It's a single developer, so I don't know how long it will take to actually be done and published on BGA. But it's been made, and also we have some games already published in the US market, like Potato Man and also Fibonaccios. Those are published in the US markets, and we are working on having more games published there. Like the 1000 Jordy showed, it's behind him. It's from both of us. We are the authors of the game, and it is licensed worldwide, and we also license for an English version. So I don't know if will actually be available in the US because it's a Europe based company, but at least in English it will be published. Um, a minimum, at the worst, it will be available in English as well.
Okay. Very good.
yeah.
When Robert's Carbon Hunters came out 2022, I guess, or 2020, I think. I forgot, but it I know when Mike Delisio showed it, is like the rule book was in Spanish, and then as soon as that video hit, someone made an English version of the rules like that for him. So it was like it was kind of cool. So at the time I was looking back then I was trying to find the game on eBay, and it was like $130. Thankfully I didn't buy it back then, but because
Yeah.
someone snaked it out from under me on eBay's. But I was like,
Yeah.
all I need to do is wait 2 years.
Yeah, I missed the chance of selling my Brazilian copy of the
If
game
you'd
back
got
then.
to me for less than 130, I would have been sending you my money. It was such a big
For
deal in
us,
the US.
the game was released. I think it was like 100 Brazilian real, which was at the time maybe $25. So
It's
you
about what
can
it is here
imagine.
now.
Yeah, so you can
Yeah.
imagine $130 now for us. If Jordy could sell, if he thought about it, he would, because it's too high of a price for
Absolutely. I mean,
to lose
there are
the
games
chance.
like there are games behind me, like Shadows of Camelot was so hard for me to find. It would take a lot for me to sell that one, but
Mm.
I would if the right price was hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, very cool. I'll go back to those. All right, let's talk about Ozob. That's your big game right now. What is it? What is Ozob? I mean, I've seen a lot of the videos. I was there at GenCon. It was a beautiful game with wonderful miniatures. But tell me in your words what the game's about.
Yeah. So Ozob is like a dungeon crawler game, but with some hints of a deck builder as well. In the game, you play as war roadies that are like the revolutionary group of characters that are fighting the big corps. And yeah, the mechanics of the game, like it mixes dungeon crawler with also there's a feeling of an RPG because the the main part of the game you're drawing cards with some sort of like push or luck mechanism, and those cards are like your character's cards. And in there you have four stats. You have strength, you have agility, you have charisma, and also intelligence. And you can open as many cards as what you want. However, if you open like 3 X's, there are some cards that are the is it trauma, Renato?
There are traumas and other cards that have a white X on the top left corner, and
Yeah.
those are the cards that can make you stumble. Those are the pusher luck aspect of the game.
Yeah, and like if you stumble, you must stop opening cards and you proceed to the next part of your turn, in where you have 3 actions, or like some characters have more actions, and you can use the stats that you opened to interact with the board. So, like if you open a bunch of agility, you are faster in this turn, so you can move more spaces. Like if you open a lot of strength, you beat harder on the mobs. And there are some checks like to complete the missions that you need to do with charisma and intelligence. And also the enemies it's not only about fighting them. There are some other tests that you can make with the enemies to play with them on the board. uh, and really, like one of the another core aspect of the game is that you roll a lot of dice. So it's a dice chucker, and you each of the stats that you open on the when you're making a test. So like if I open 3 strength, that means I'm going to roll 3 dice against when I'm fighting. And to the dice, they have like successes and failures, and you can re-roll the dice, but to do that you must spend adrenaline, and adrenaline is on the same track as your health. So you can like push your luck like another time by spending health to re-roll the dice and get better results. And yeah, like the meat of the game is that you're rolling a lot of dice, you're like fighting enemies, and there's always a tension because if like you're it's getting better because there's not many enemies on the board and you can like progress with the mission, but then like an event card comes up and everything is like screwed again, and you're almost dying. So it's a very tense and a game full of emotions, I think.
Yeah, and the thing about the system is that the pusher luck is very entangled. All the pusher luck aspects, they are entangled, because when you're revealing cards and you stumble, also besides actually having to stop revealing cards, you also lose 2 of your health points, and your life is a resource in the game because you use the adrenaline that are in the same bar as your health points. You use them to reroll dice. So if you're losing life points, you're jumping from one heart to another, and in the middle of those hearts, between those hearts, you have several adrenaline. So you're actually losing the ability you have to re-roll your dice during the game. So you're trying not to stumble, not only because you're forced to stop revealing cards, but also because you lose health. But sometimes you want to stumble because losing health also grants you more dice for your test. So it's a thing where you really have to measure if you want to go further and push your luck a little more. And actually, we have a video that shows people doing that during GenCon, and it's
Saw that
very
one.
thrilling because yeah, it's very thrilling because people they're always on the brink, like, oh, I'm dying, but I need to push a little more. I can't spend another action to do this successfully. So you're trying to make the most of your actions, but to do so, you spend your life. And the only rule that persists through all the scenarios in the game is that if any of you die, you all lose the game. So it's a full cooperative game in which if one of you dies, uh, the game ends for everyone. So you're trying to manage not to get killed, not to go very low on your health bar, but also to get the most of your actions so you don't need to spend more actions to do the thing you could resolve on the first one if you got to spend enough adrenaline and push your luck a little bit further.
Yeah.
How complicated is the game?
I think for an experience during the con, for us it's kind of hard to say that, but I think it would be in the same level as Zombie Side, maybe um, a bit a little bit over Zombie Side or a little bit less complex. I don't know actually because the thing is to explain the basic game, it's pretty fast. So I took like 5 minutes to explain the game for people that was sitting to play the game at Gen Con. But the thing is, we had to play the first turn with them, so they would understand what was happening during the first turn. As they understood the turn structure from the game, it all resolves pretty smoothly from there. So everybody knows what you do, and they know the turn structure, the sequence. Like you review cards, you take your actions. The event card is reviewed. The minions attack you, and if there is a boss, the boss activates. It's like that. It's
Okay.
pretty straightforward. But once you see a turn, uh, as you see a turn being played, you actually understand all the game. So it is pretty easy to start, but the first turn you'll have to explain things to other
Right.
people as you play.
I mean,
Yeah. And there,
most games are like that for me. Just that you have to once I get past the first turn of the game, this goes smoothly.
yeah, and there are not many. I really can't remind of any like exceptions because I feel that some games are complicated just because they have a lot of exceptions to the rules. And in Ozob, we took a really really care to make everything so intuitive that after you learn it, then it's difficult to forget a thing. It's just like is it like how do I do this? Is it that way or that way? So this is more intuitive. So that's probably the right answer for Ozob. And yeah, so I would say yeah, it would be like a 2.5, around like 2.5 or 3 on BGG.
Okay, gotcha. I saw on the video that the Gen Con video that people were loving it and they were figuring it out. They seemed like they were having a
Yeah,
ball with it.
yeah, we had some cases. People were like, there were some people that wanted to play a game the same. We only had one scenario there at Gen Con, and people wanted to play a game the same scenario. So once they played the second time, they didn't need any help from us, because they already knew everything and they could also clear any doubts other people had. So, and there was a case there. There was a guy. Actually, he was a Brazilian guy, but he lives in the U.S. And he played his first game of Ozob, and right after that, he entered a new table with new people, different people, and those people were playing their first game. but he actually could explain people how to play. But not only it was easy for him to get the game going after his first turn, but he
Mhm.
could also explain the game to other players. So that's the
Okay.
thing. It's very, very intuitive. And we also took care to make the game very dynamic. Like we have event cards in the game. We never have two events the same way. They are always different. Even if they are a slight difference, there is a slight difference. So you never have the same event going, like it's different one from another.
Yeah, and it's very modular because the events, like there are 10 scenarios in the game, and the event deck consists of there are two types of enemies that appears in each scenario, and each of those enemies have like some event cards that are added to the deck related to them. And there's like a set of base event cards, and also some event cards from the mission that you're playing. So they're very like there are some modular components that makes each time that you play a bit different than the others, because also the characters that you play, they all have a unique ability, like a no-going ability, and they are from like they have their own stats deck. So yeah, there are many elements, and also we have some item cards that you can get during the game, and these change the game a lot. So like if during a game you get like there are some weapons in that deck that make really like other aspects of the game shine, because now instead of using strength to fight, you can use like agility to fight.
Okay.
And yeah, so it's like there are items that let you like play with the enemies on the boards that so yeah, we have many elements that make each game very, very unique.
Okay. How long does a successful game usually take? Like how long ballpark would like a full
I would
a full
say the first game of a group of players would take from 90 to 110 minutes. The first game, but the second one would be up to 90 minutes. It won't go
Okay. So it's
higher than that.
in terms of these games, it's relatively fast. I mean, I get the
Yes.
first game always takes longer.
Yeah, because you're like learning
Learning.
stuff and learning how to read the event cards. This is very important in the game because the event card is how the game behaves against you. So you're learning how they work, like how you change the spawn points from one to another, what kind of enemy you spawn in this case. Some like keywords like then always happens, even though the part right before it didn't happen. So you have to learn those stuff. Once you learn them, these are not very hard to learn, but once
Right.
you learn, the game goes like smoothly all the way.
Okay. Okay. Big question. I when I was on the Gamefound site earlier, it didn't say when it was coming out, but it said soon. When do you think that the Gamefound's actually going to kick off?
Yeah, we actually know that, but we cannot tell this out right now. But I know they because the game was created by Jordy and I, but actually it is a joint venture between three Brazilian companies. It is Iron Studios production. Iron Studios is one of the greatest miniatures and statues producers in the world, and the biggest in Brazil. They have a headquarters in the US. They have a headquarters in Europe. And they are really huge. And the other company besides our studio is Nonsense Creation. Those are the guys that hold the rights for Ozob. They are really huge company in Brazil. They create content, several types of content, but the main thing is podcasting. They have a podcast for over 20 years. No, I think 18 years right now. Their podcast is 18 years old. and they actually created the character Ozob. It was created in 1993 first, but it was first published as an RPG podcast, like an RPG campaign podcast in 2013. So those three companies, we are together in this project. But for me and Jordy, we are only responsible for the game itself, for the game rules and for the gameplay and stuff like that. Those other companies, they are the responsible to make the Gamefound campaign, make the page on BDG, and actually announce stuff like the release date. So
Okay.
they will
Game itself-
announce soon.
Okay, the game you brought to Gen Con is pretty much the final version of the game.
Yes, it's pretty much, but it was still a prototype in terms of production. Because like the miniatures there, they were 3D printed, and the actual final product will be injection molded. So
Gotcha.
it's a little bit different, the 3D printed, as they are very, it was a fast-paced 3D printing for us to print like 150 miniatures so we could have the three prototypes in a Gen Con. It doesn't hold that much detail, and it has some scratches and stuff like that on the miniatures. And the dashboard, the player's dashboard, was not the final one, and stuff like that. But it is, in terms of art and graphic design, it was pretty close to the final version. Yes.
Okay, very cool. One question, I didn't realize that, and again, I'm kind of sheltered. I didn't realize Ozob wasn't an original creation by you guys. I mean,
It is not.
I saw the main clown. I was like, oh, it looks like a Twisted Metal clown, but that's pretty much the closest I get. I didn't realize it had a history before you guys.
Yeah, it has. Actually, Jordy has behind him on your right side, Jordy, or left. I don't know. I don't know if the image is mirrored. He has the book because Ozob has a novel for himself. It's called
Wow.
Ozob Molotov Protocol. It was released in 2015 in Brazil, and actually Ozob was licensed to be on Cyberpunk 2077, the video game. So it was you have two side quests in the video game that you can actually meet Ozob and resolve those side quests with him, against him, actually. So it is a character that has a long story. Its RPG campaign was split into 4 different episodes with 3 hours long each episode. So it's a very well designed universe. So we were exploring that universe in the board game, which actually I think makes the board game a little bit richer because we can explore things in a very we have restrictions we have to attend. And when you have restrictions, I think restrictions are the main thing for you to be creative, because you have to work with them and you have to be creative, taking them into account. So it's the thing that makes us more creative to do that made us more creative to do the game, actually.
Right, especially if you can do whatever you want to solve it, but you have to work within the confines of the universe.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
And for us, that was really cool to have these restrictions and to have like this rich world that already existed. It really helped a lot with like creating even the core mechanics of the game. We were always thinking of like what would make sense in this world that already exists. So it was really cool.
That's really cool. I just learned something. I thought it was a great game on its own. It's like now I'm kind of interested in the backstory. So
yeah, during GenCon, we actually should have a comic there that introduced the universe, but the comic didn't arrive there. That was the problem. We were at San Diego Comic-Con the previous week, and there we handled out that comic I'll ask people to publish it online on the Gamefound page, links for a PDF version in which you can actually start to get to know the universe as a whole and who are the war roadies, which are the heroes you're playing with during the game, and then what is Data Dine, the evil corp you're battling against, you know. So I'll ask the guys to publish a link for the PDF comic
That'd be
in the
awesome.
Gamefound page.
Are you going to New York Comic Con?
No, unfortunately not. For us, only it was a good deal because Comic Con and Gen Con were in
Same
two.
week. Yeah.
Yeah, like
You didn't have to
and
travel
it
twice.
is. Yeah, we only had to travel once. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. No, 'cause I'll be going to New York Comic Con, so that's why I was hoping to see you guys. But very cool. All right. Getting towards the end here. I mean, we've got. What advice would you give aspiring designers, both in Brazil and worldwide?
Mhm. Yeah, I would say just like start making stuff. Like start prototyping as soon as possible, and like start showing the game to your ideas to other people, because I feel it's really a matter of getting stuff presentable, not presentable in the way like of having good art or good graphic design, just uh, trying to figure out how people are going to understand the idea for a game that you have really like speeds up the process, and making the prototype as soon as possible uh, also makes it faster, because you're it's not going to be perfect. Like the first prototype, it's going to be a mess probably, but from there, like you will learn a lot about your game and your ideas. uh yeah, and that's why I think my main advice and the main thing that I had to fight against when I was starting making games, because I lost a lot of time trying to make the thing like work perfectly, and make it like really like beautiful in some way, because I was kind of afraid of people looking at it like a gross sheet of paper cut. But nowadays I just make it like as fast as I can.
And then let everything get pretty as time goes in.
Yeah.
Jordy, you're a
I
publisher.
think
So, I mean, Renato, you're a publisher. So let's hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I think Jordy is completely correct in that aspect. We have this like philosophy in several areas. There's a very famous book called Fail Faster, Fail Better, Fail Fast, Fail Better. And so the principle is that you're in an iterative arc, so an iterative cycle. And what you're doing to get better, to get your product better, is trying it out. So try it out, collect feedback, and enhance it. And then try it out a little bit more and do that as fast as you can, because you have the feedback as fast as you can as well. So the feedback is the way for you to enhance your creations. But the other thing that actually Jordy teach me, taught me, I don't know how do you say teach in the past, like
You pitched.
yeah, no, teach like teach in the past, like the teacher teaches. What is teach in the past? He touched,
Pitched.
teached. So Jordy teached me this is find the hook. That means find in a single sentence why your game should be played. You know, because if you got a good hook, it's easier for you to get a publisher. It's easier for you to take design decisions, and it makes the process of creating the game very smoother. You know, for us together as a team of designers, for us the game will work less was the games. They were the games that we had the best outcoming of them because we worked less, not because we were like lazy and stuff like that, but we had a very solid and unique premise. So that was the hook for us. We found a hook for two games, and those two games we actually got finished in 1 week. One of them, and the other one like 2 weeks. Right, Jordy? We were talking while I was driving him to his grandmother's house in São Paulo during the last con we had here in Brazil, and we were talking. Jordy, I was thinking about a game that was like this. It used this kind of stuff, and we were talking and talking, and in 1 week after the con, the game was already in its like third or fourth prototype already because we have tested it out a lot, and we actually licensed that game for a world license. So
Oh
it's
wow.
pretty fast when you have the right hook. It's pretty easier for you to get things going. So find a hook. If you find a hook, you find a way faster, and people will actually get your game uniqueness faster as well.
Oh wow. Okay, that's great line. That's great advice, and it's a great just 3 words make it just explains everything. That's really cool.
Yeah,
That
Jordy is a very wise guy. He just doesn't show it, but he's a wise
he
guy.
doesn't show it, huh?
Yeah, he's a little bit shy, so he doesn't speak much. But you see, as I work with him all time, I get to learn stuff that he actually
Yeah.
speaks a lot. You know.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Now, Jordy, just as you were saying that you're a programmer, did your programming history change, help you with any of this?
Uh,
Are you a math
yeah,
major?
no. But it really, I feel it helps with the process and like the some ideas maybe. But really, there are some kinds of game that works like only if you know programming. So uh, yeah, it helps, and I wish I could share more about it, but I think that it's more about the process of like, because when you learn programming, you really have to think of a in a specific way, in a specific structure of how like the loops of programming work, and I think there are some similarities with game design. Because when you're writing the rules or when you're reading a rule book, it's sort of like that. Uh, yeah.
Just so you know, I'm a programmer by trade. So like I've been programming for 30 years. So it's I get it. I get
Yeah.
it's like you kind of you can't screw. There's a certain way to get you have to get from point A to point B. Doesn't matter how you get there, but those are your 2 points, and you got to go within reality to get there and use the right logic.
Yeah, and once you know like the processes of getting to point A to point B, uh, it feels like you could make anything. So it's really a matter of learning how to do and like learning how to learn stuff or learning how to search for different kinds of stuff. And in game design, it's also like this. Like you need to learn how the different mechanics work. So when you're trying to make a game, sometimes you can fit some things that already exist in there, and it shortens the progress to get there. Like it, and that's similar in programming because I feel that I know more about how to search on Google, how to do something in programming, and then
Mhm.
copying that through every project, like through different projects that I make, more than like really knowing how like the back end of like a computer language works.
Right. It's amazing. You guys really kind of, again, I just met you, Jordy, but you guys seem to make a really good team. Just different. You have completely different ways about you, but together they make a good combination. Just based on just seeing you together in the last hour.
Yeah, I think that as well.
Yeah, well, I think we both think so too. It was kind of a surprise, right, Jordy? Because it wasn't like a thing we saw it coming. No, I was the one available to work with Jordy because he was the one contacted by Nonsense Creations to create Ozob, and then he thought about calling someone to help him, and I was the one that was available, and I was actually pretty close of him because of the time we lived in the same building, and the other people that lived there, they were always working on CMON, and they had exclusivity, and then it was a surprise, and a good surprise in a way, because we had worked before in Fibonacci's, but in a very different manner, as we are not both authors of Fibonacci's. I am the editor, but Jordy is the single author. So it's a different way. And in Pescado Novo, we also worked together, but I was the author and the editor. Jordy helped me play testing in some ideas, but it was a very different process. When we got to work on a daily basis, it worked out very well.
It just shows you this you complement each other. It makes sense. It's like you just you work well together, and I'm glad to see. And I can see it, but it's like I'm glad to see that it actually worked on a big scale, that behind the scenes.
Yeah, it will be awesome if you can get to see it in Ozob. As I'm the marketing guy, I'm the marketing guy and the sales one, I have to remember that.
Understand. It's completely fine. Okay. You've already answered, but what future projects do you have that you can talk about?
So we have Ozob and some stuff around the game that will have more news coming, and we have 1000 there that is behind Jordy. It was released in Brazil, but it is coming during Spiel. It will be released as Tricky Handout. It will be in German, but it will also have English rules. So it will be Trick 100. Yeah, Trick 100, something like that. And it will be released soon during Spiel next month. And actually, you will have also a new project coming through Thunderworks. We cannot talk about it, but we can say that we have.
Just I'm going to buy. I don't know what it is, but I'm buying it just because it's Thunderworks.
Yeah, I hope you like it. I think you will. It's that game of we talked about the 1 week and find the hook and stuff like that. And we have another game that it's going to be published here in Brazil for Grok Games, but also they have the world rights to try to license it elsewhere.
Okay, cool.
Right, Jordy. We have separate project as well. So Jordy, if you want to talk about.
Yeah, I think upcoming there's not that I really can talk about. I have Stone Spine Architects that just came out, and
it's up there.
Yeah,
one of my favorites.
It's getting released in Germany during Essen Spiel. I think it was released already, but it's going to be there for sure. So if you don't know this game, you should look it up if you're interested.
A great game, and I've played it a few times, right? I can vouch for it. It's a great game.
Yeah. It's really there are some similarities in the feeling, like in the vibe of the game to Cartographers. But it's really like a different kind of system with different types of interactions that you have with the game itself and also with the other players.
Gotcha. Okay, I got a question for you on Stone Spine. Okay, this is a game that it's again. I'm big Thunderworks. So role player is great. You can create this. You can create your character and then bring it into role play adventures, right? So now Stone Spine, you create the dungeon that the dungeon the dungeon adventurers travel into. Is there any way to connect that to role play adventures so that you can create the dungeons that your role play adventurers may eventually get to? I think it's a great. I think it's a natural idea.
That would be really cool. That
I've
would
already,
be really
and for the record, I have bounced this off Keith, so he's.
cool.
I just think it just makes sense to have like the game fit into the whole world there.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
So
Uh,
just throwing it out there. You know, patent pended James Hannon. But okay, is there anything I should have?
Also, I'm sorry. I'd like to talk about Fibonacci's as well. It's been released. It is already released in the US, so you can find Fibonacci's. It's like Fibonacci with nachos, like the Fibonacci sequence, and it's a game created by Jordy, and I'm the publisher and the editor. In the US, I'm not the publisher, of course, but it's a work that we have worked together in the game, and also I would say people to find Potato Man. In the US, it is available in lots of stores there. It's a very good trick-taking game. And actually, my work as an author, it's now focused in Brazil. So the things that are upcoming are in Brazil. Like we have Potato Man, the Batman version in Brazil already announced, but as is Batman, it's not so easy to get it out elsewhere. So
Right.
we have additional rules for the game, and those were created by myself. And I have lots of content for Piratas as well. It's my bestseller. And we have expansions coming out in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And we have the base game there as well. And in Brazil, we have several expansions, and the new expansion coming soon called Pets, like your pet animals. So we have lots of things, but mainly in Brazil and in BGA as soon as possible.
Right. That's cool. I can't wait to see all these things pop up.
We are very we create very different great games, right, Jordy? It's kind of funny because if you see Ozob, you will expect some things from us, but we actually don't do that much of those kinds of games. We have several kinds of games, like Jordy has a really good Euro game like Stone Spine Architect and Cartographers as a roll and write, Rolling Range as a roll and write as well. Fibonacci is a trick taking. Me myself, I have a fishing game, take that card game. We have different stuff coming up, a party game. So we do a wide range of stuff. So you'll find some of our core values as game designers. That is, you have to have fun. That's the thing. But you have very different ways to have fun with our game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm my regular game player. He's got a completely different ballpark of games. Like he's into he got me hooked on some of these games, but like role play adventure, Shadows of Brimstone. But I'm more of a King of Tokyo type person. But when we play games together, it just works. It's like, you know, like he and I designed the game Chopper, which I'll talk to you about offline. But it's completely different than either one of our games alone.
This is pretty good because it's like complementary. You are different and you complement each other. Yeah.
That's the best way, because if you're too much the same, it's as if you want only one person that needed to do the game. Having two completely different perspectives makes the game better.
Yeah, that's right. It adds some, I don't know, like a texture to the game, because there are many elements that comes from all like many different sides, and when those elements, like when you get to make those elements work together, it feels like a fresh new game comes out of that.
Right. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything I should have asked you, either one of you, that I haven't?
Mm, I
Anything you
don't
want to
think
talk
so.
about it? Anything you want? Renato, is there anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I think we covered it all actually because I mainly I talked a lot, so
Yeah, yeah,
Again,
I got it all covered as well.
okay, cool. So I think that might be it. Thanks so much for this interview. I learned a lot, and again, very important. Find the hook. That's a key thing. I'm gonna take away from this.
yeah, this is Jordy wisdom. Jordy's
Jordy
wisdom
wisdom.
is the best wisdom we have.
I'll give him credit to from whenever I use this on people.
Yeah, please.
But thanks so much, and thanks so much for everyone tuning in. Join us again. Hopefully, we'll have more Brazilian designers, and see you next episode. Take care.